So I'm recording it. Okay, shall we go over the questions? So the first one, we were wondering if you have a preference of the amount of different levels or scenarios.
I think that those two things are not the same. The way I visualize it is a scenario could be consisting of multiple levels of difficulty. And what I think is that it's best to focus on one scenario and make that a good example prototype that works like it's almost fully operational, instead of having two or multiple scenarios that are not quite there yet.
Okay, yeah.
So we have to then decide upon a scenario and then think about, okay, how many levels of difficulty or parameters should we include in that scenario?
Okay, I see. So you propose the two cases, and I guess those cases are also the most common cases that would be useful for you.
I think those cases are what is top of mind at the moment in our organization. Things we struggle with at this moment.
Yes.
So yeah.
Okay. We also had a different idea of having a scenario where the user is working, let's say, on a platform that is being lifted. We're also thinking of doing this in kind of hyper reality, so you're really standing on like a wooden platform to increase immersion. But now you already mentioned it's better to have one scenario really in great detail than multiple ones. So I guess we have to decide if we're going to do that.
Yeah, which I think that's also a possibility. The working on heights, especially on a mobile working platform. But we have to think about it, and perhaps you could work out a little script for all three scenarios, and then we can talk about it next week when we meet face to face.
Yes. Okay, that sounds good. Also we are wondering if you have more references for us. So actually details how the people are working, what we mentioned in the question.
Yeah, that will not be a problem. We can provide you with all kinds of photo material with the working instructions.
I think also CAD models, if we ask a colleague of us.
That might be possible.
Okay, perfect.
And I think it's also would be helpful for us, but also for you to create to detail the working process. So from start to finish, and not the actual labor, but also including things like instruction beforehand, evaluation afterwards, because we think it's very important to stress those things as well.
Yes.
And then perhaps that the evaluation afterwards can be done either in a virtual environment or perhaps with a trainer. We have to decide, think about what are the pros and cons from both concepts. But I think the focus should there be on increasing the self-efficacy of the trainees.
Yeah. We had some ideas also for that. We prepared a little presentation, like some slides. So when we finish with the questions, maybe I can share my screen and can present you what we thought about.
Great.
Okay. And we were wondering, because in the project it's included kind of excursion event. Did you already have some preferences for that?
Well, when we discussed this project with Matthijs van Veen, we decided upon the FMX festival because he thought that would be a great event.
Okay.
But if you have another event that's approximately the same price range, and you can argument why you would prefer that event over the FMX festival, I think that would wouldn't be a problem for us.
Okay, yeah, I was just wondering. I think we're all fine with the FMX festival.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
That's quickly decided then.
Yeah. True that. Yeah, for future meetings, I guess, yeah, I don't know if we should have a fixed schedule like every so weeks, or we just have email contact and then see when you have time in your schedule.
Well, Peter and I were discussing this, and we read that you were going to use the Scrum methodology and have 2 weekly sprints.
Yes, exactly.
Work in 2 week sprints. And we were wondering when you have the meeting at the end of the sprint, if it could be possible for both of us or one of us to join that meeting every 2 weeks.
Okay, yeah, of course.
And that it might be interesting to schedule a regular meeting every 4 weeks in which Peter and I can organize a project visit or the visit of a Strukton location.
Yeah, it sounds awesome.
Yeah, and I think it would be helpful to us if you could, before the meeting at the end of the sprint, that you have collect and gather all the questions you have at that moment and send them in advance to us so we can do some research about them and come up with questions instead of having to do that over the weekend to overcome any delays.
Yeah, I will do that. And then I will also let you know when exactly we have the sprint meeting.
Yeah, great.
Okay, great. So if you want, we can now have a little presentation that we prepared.
Yeah, sure.
I'm not sure how I can share my screen. It's even possible.
What if you can hide it? Okay. That's fine.
Videos active.
Yeah.
Yeah, or we just do it without the visuals.
No, I think we have to reconnect, but not using the camera, and then it would be possible.
Shall we do that?
Yeah.
Okay. You hang up. Yeah. All right. Plus, normally it's here. But... Okay, I guess it doesn't work. So we... Yeah, in the old Skype it worked like that. Okay. We can't find that function, so we'll just do it without the visuals for now. Hello?
Hello.
Okay.
Great.
Can you open it, Mattia? It's probably inverted.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so you can hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, great. So yeah, we were thinking of, for example, starting the. Okay, so when you load up the simulation, you'd start up in inside one of these sort of moving offices. I can't remember what they're called. Construction check, or yeah. So
Is it the idea, guys, that we should see the same presentation that you're giving right now? Because we are not seeing anything.
Okay.
Well,
Maybe it would be simple to just email it to Peter, and then we can open it here.
That's a very good idea. I'm gonna quickly export it. Download as PDF. Email. Appendix. Okay, I sent an email to Peter.
Yeah, not in yet, but it will.
Probably takes a minute. Or...
Here it comes. Yeah. We've got it. Now open it. Here we go.
Perfect.
All right.
Okay, so if you go over to slide number 3, we can start with that.
Yeah, the tutorial / menu room.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we had the idea that when you load up the simulation, you would start up inside one of these sort of construction offices. I'm not sure what they're called. Again, they're
It's almost exactly the same one as we're using right now, only a different color. But it looks
really?
very familiar already.
nice. Good. So yeah, basically the idea is inside you'd find an interactive menu where the player has the opportunity to get acquainted with the controls. Maybe play around with some stuff on a table, I don't know if they want, and then sort of they would inside this room also choose any options that are available, like weather systems or the scenarios and such. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, the work process within Strukton is that you normally get your instruction based on the planned activities for you that day. And according to that instruction, you select your personal protective equipment.
Okay.
So before the guys should pick out their gloves or their glasses or their hard hats, they should receive the right instruction and then pick the right PPEs accordingly.
Okay. Do they get this equipment from inside this moving office?
No, they have their own.
They have it with them in their bus.
I see. Okay.
But normally the guys the work is pretty repetitive, so they take their PPEs with them because they already know which work they're going to do, and the instruction is never a big surprise. But what we can do is that we can send you some photographs of the PPEs that the guys are using regarding to the work in the switch boxes and the working at heights. So they get the full protective harness and all those kinds of things.
Yeah, sounds great.
And we can send you the right instructions for the 2 activities in English.
Okay, great.
That's good, yeah,
I think that might be a nice starting point.
for sure.
And I was thinking regarding the selection of weather conditions and such, would it be wise to normally put it on, that the standard would be like a random, and if you want to deviate from that you can select it if you want to train a specific situation?
Yeah, we can do that. That was we were actually going to ask about that a little bit later.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean that's nice to know. Thanks. Okay. So, but as an idea for a menu, is it? What do you think about it? It's basically an interactive menu system.
Yeah, I think it's cool.
Okay, good. Nice.
Yeah, it looks very nice, very inviting.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah. So if we move on to slide number 4. So we were thinking of for the majority of the feedback to receive it through a walkie-talkie sort of system. So say if you, I don't know, if we want to teach someone, if we want to teach the trainees something, we would do so through an audio guidance system. Like we record someone's voice and yeah, you hear it through the walkie-talkie when you're doing the task.
Yeah, I think that would be wise because we also have some employees that are not that fond of reading, and I think it's also more close to the real environment where they talk and not read stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Great.
Yeah, and especially the switchbox scenario. That's the normal way to work. So the two guys are testing the functionalities, and then they're having they're having the radio or the
Intercom.
the intercom, and then they test. So they stand approximately 1 kilometer away from each other, and then they just test. And the one says, "Is this working?" And the other says, "Yeah, it's working." And then the other has, "Is point B working?" "Yeah, that's also working."
Okay, yeah, that's great. It's pretty much what we were thinking of doing.
Yeah, but we do have to think about in this scenario is that we have a very strict communication policy. In which we use the specific guidelines and also like the NATO alphabet for communication. So not saying A or B, but Alpha, Bravo, those kind of things, to avoid any confusion. So we have to think about it and incorporate that as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe
We might have to find a voice actor within Strukton that will work with us and knows his stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that will also be a task for us, which I don't think will be a problem, but we'll have to get on it right away.
Yeah, I think we should maybe talk about this system a little bit more in depth, because I'm not super sure how we would. So we can have the walkie-talkie person talking correctly using all the jargon and such, but the player, I'm not sure how we can make sure that happens.
No, but I think that in a normal situation where we apply this to trainees, there would be like a supervisor or some sort of guidance.
Okay.
And we could give them a checklist to see to score them perhaps how well they perform, or just as an evaluation point on the evaluation form. So to what extent do they follow the communication guidelines?
Yeah. Okay. Sounds great. That would solve it.
And another idea from my part: what if it's possible to stop the work at any time? So there's always in the left bottom of your vision, there's always a button which you can push or smash, which says "Stop work, unsafe situation." And if in the first time when the guy gets called, the right jargon is not used. But if he continues, he will automatically fail because he does not know if it's safe or not.
Okay. Yeah.
And then the screen will say you did your work with an unsafe instruction.
Okay.
So in
So
reality,
that's your first moment of failure, and then you respawn at the moment where you get called, and then you have the right. Then you get the right. The right jargon.
So yeah, I think, I'm not sure if it's clear for you, but I think what Mitch, correct me if I'm wrong, is trying to convey is that the first time you start the program and the first instructions you receive in audio over your walkie-talkie or two-way radio, the NPC doesn't use the correct communication forms. And if you do continue at that moment without saying or stopping the work, then you will get cut off from playing the game.
Yeah, I see. It's interesting. Yeah, we could definitely put that in there somehow. Yeah. We'll so okay. We can skip ahead a little bit and go to the slide number 7 real quick.
Yeah.
Basically, we were thinking of having a teach and test system where you can run the simulation in the teach mode, where you are basically taught to do what the task entails, and you can also run the simulation on test mode, where you're given as little help as possible, and you have to basically work on your own knowledge, and at the end you're graded based on your performance. So what you suggested would be one of the things that gets graded in the end in this sort of concept.
I like the idea of having the teaching and the testing mode. I'm not sure how going to implement the grading, or if it's just looking over someone's shoulder that is playing in the virtual reality environment, and just following them and just giving them feedback, because I think that's the most important thing what I also mentioned, that it's part of self-efficacy. How can we enhance that part by training, so that people are confident that they know how to perform their work correctly. And I think it would be wise, perhaps that in the test mode, or what I visualize it as in the teach mode, you always you get always all the prompts, like did you think of this, did you think of that, or blah blah blah. And in the test mode, there are none of those prompts on the screen or on the audio. But perhaps that would be a third form in the sense that if you forget something, not wearing your PPEs, then you get a prompt like it would be wise to wear your helmet or your goggles because of this and this reason, so that people can sort of have a test mode without having the prompts beforehand. But if they fail to do something, then they get a prompt from don't forget.
Yeah, and when they fail to do something, they get a point of interest or a learning point, and they do not fail, because that's the way I visualized it before. You get the big GTA red screen with wasted, and that's not the thing that we're looking for.
Yes.
It needs to be a learning experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then it would also be nice if you can correct that flaw and then continue, and at the end still have your good results.
Okay. That makes sense. So the user is able to see, oh, I made a mistake, but now he can correct it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. We can work with that.
Yeah, shall we move on to slide 5?
Yeah. So yeah, we were thinking of having some visual aids, like general VR visual aids, like highlighting of objects that you're colliding with, like the first picture, and yeah, sort of directional hints, like the second picture. Yeah. What do you think of that? Is that too unrealistic, or is it okay?
I think it's necessary.
Yeah, pretty much.
Of course, it's unrealistic, but it's necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we could also use this, for example, in the teaching mode, and leave it out in the test mode. And if you twist in the right picture, if you twist it, turn it the other way around, it doesn't do anything.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then you have to think about, okay, why is it working? It was working before. Okay, perhaps I have to turn it the other way around. But then we can make some use this as well with the highlighting of objects like PBMs or PPEs and such in the teaching mode, but not in the testing mode.
Yep. Okay, great.
Yeah, we have to realize that there will be 45 or 50-year-old guys who have never played a game in their entire life, and they are going to wear the goggles and wear the gloves, and then they must be able to correctly perform the tasks.
Yeah, indeed.
Without getting frustrated.
Yeah, that's the main thing. It should be a fun experience
Yes.
next to the learning points.
All right. So on slide number 6, then. Yeah. So with regard to how you would be holding the tools and objects and such, we were thinking of having a snapping system. So instead of typical VR simulations where you would kind of just haphazardly grab something and it's not necessarily going to be in your hand, so to speak, the object will then snap onto the hand to make it seem as if you're actually holding it properly. I'm not sure if I'm getting my point across here. Is that sort of clear?
Yeah, I mean, like in the first picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the first picture, you can see someone trying to handle an object, and it's not just floating in space. It's it's snapping into their hand.
Oh, so it's not like in the first of the sheet before this, you saw the floating glove, and here you just see it on the bottom of your screen.
The idea is that if you interact with tools, that in some VR games, if you would grab it, it would just be in your hand in the angle that you grab it. And we were thinking to have a kind of snapping system to program it to make sure that the tools are always properly situated in your hands. How would you have them in real life? Yeah.
I don't know if that would contribute to the feeling. If I grab a hammer in the VR environment and I twist the hammer and I want to look at the hammer from all the sides, that would really contribute to the immersiveness. I can imagine. Or is that not the case?
You would still be able to look at it from all sides.
Oh, but then it just snaps back into the position that you usually use it.
Yeah.
Well, in any way, guys, and I think Peter agrees that this will not be any kind of a deal breaker.
No.
Yeah, I think
So this we'll just leave this to your professional opinion.
Okay. Yeah. The second part of this would be to have wearable objects, like you can see the hard hat on the GIF on the right, stuff like that. I mean, yeah, I think we've already kind of agreed that we're going to have, was it PPEs?
PPE,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yep, just the. Oh, right. Yeah. So we were also considering if it would be a good idea to have the players wear actual safety gear in real life to simulate, actually wearing it. Like maybe there's a weight to them. We're not sure.
Yeah, I personally think that it would be a nice add-on if they put on, for example, their yellow vests and maybe their working shoes. I think our helmet with the chin strap, which they have to use in any case if they're working at heights, that will interfere with the VR goggles.
Indeed, yeah.
And one other thing when they are working at heights is that they use their full protective harness to prevent them from falling, and that harness, that I think that might get in the way with the equipment.
Okay.
But that's just my first look at it.
I've thought about this a bit longer perhaps, and I think that the full harness could work if we make sure that people don't think they can rely on it. Because then we could, depending on the hardware we're going to use, if it's wireless or wired, we have to make sure we could make like the wires from the VR goggles, their safety strap, which they have to click in.
Yeah, that's pretty cool actually.
And we could also think about integrating the helmet with the goggles in some sort of mode that you just put them on together, and you still have to wear your helmet, but also it doesn't interfere with wearing the goggles.
That's something we could think about.
Yeah, something to look into. Really. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be really nice, because if the guys just put on their helmet, then it would instantly feel like a normal working environment for them, because they're so used to having that hard hat on.
Indeed. So so we can agree that wearing real gear is something that you guys would want.
Yeah.
Okay.
Preferably. Yeah.
Can we all present this here so we can test them? Like, please do that.
Did you hear? We were asking, is it possible for us to get some of the gear so we could test with it, perhaps?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Let me think. Can we bring it next Thursday?
Yeah, we can bring you a pair of working shoes. We can bring you the correct yellow vests. I think we can even bring you a sample of a complete safety harness.
Yeah, nice.
Which we will need back in mint condition.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, sounds good. I think now we could move on with slide 8.
Yeah.
So this is a bit about the weather system, which we kind of already went over. Whether you guys would prefer random weather or more option-based. But I think you said you wanted both.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the standard should be random because that's also more lifelike. But if we want to train people in specific conditions, or perhaps the random starts with the most difficult option with the lowest visibility, and that's the first encounter, then it would be better to start off with the most ideal sunny weather conditions.
That would be also a great effect if you start in your little work basket, so to speak, because it's literally like 1 meter by 2 meters, and then it's foggy, and then you have to do the work, and then slightly the fog disappears, and then the world opens up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we were also considering maybe an option to postpone the work. So if you feel that I suppose maybe there might be some weather conditions that are just too hazardous, and it might be better to just wait them out.
I think the option should always be available to stop the work you're doing because it feels or is unsafe. Then we have to think about what are the parameters, or if we want to set those parameters in which we do agree as a program or do not agree as a program.
Yeah, the parameters that come to mind are the wind force. And if I say it correctly, wind force is above wind force 6. I don't know if it says something to you, but I can send you that information. Wind force above wind force 6 means that you have to postpone all your working at height activities.
Okay.
And when you see a thunder flash nearby,
okay,
that is also a reason to stop your work, especially on the electrical installation.
Okay.
All right, that's good stuff.
Is very heavy rain also a reason?
Very heavy rain is not necessarily a deal breaker. Only I think that you guys can all imagine that if you're working on an electrical installation and that's out in the open, and you have the switch box doors open, and it rains and it's very windy and the rain blows into the switch box and all the components get wet. Yeah, that's of course a reason where you would want to stop your work.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, so moving on to slide number 9. Yeah, so we were considering some hyperreality components to this, especially working on heights with the raised platform machine. Yeah, I mean, I think you mentioned as well with the headset's power cord being the harness. That's also kind of hyper reality. So I don't know. I mean, yeah, we just wanted to know if you would be interested in some hyper reality elements to the simulation.
Yeah, I think if we're going for the on the left, you see a mobile elevation work platform. I think that would be very interesting because then it's also limiting your movement, and you could lean over or try to lean over, and of course there are also some guidelines for what you can do, and then I think it adds something. If we are going to use physical objects to be tracked in the simulation, I would be interested in exploring that, but I think, well, my own experience is that it could be difficult. But that's also up to you to guide us on what the opportunities and the possibilities are. So I think for the environment, certainly, and for objects, I have a bit of doubt.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll look into it, I suppose, and we'll get back to you on that.
Yeah.
How would you guys feel if we sign you up for a fast course of our Working at Heights training program?
Sounds great.
We usually do that in a full day. So the guys will come to a certain location, they get their equipment, and then they then they learn how to work in the specific situations. But I'm thinking maybe that I can make it a short course for you and have you in a room with the trainer for like 3 or 4 hours, so they can tell you what's what on the working at height risks.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah, that sounds great. It's very useful.
Yeah, that
reference.
might be something. And we also, that's another thing that I'm considering. We also have a training basket, so to speak. So the thing you see, the yellow thing where the guy is doing his work in,
Yep.
we have one made so the guys can train in it with all the correct hooks and all the correct clamps and the correct way to enter the machine. So it might be possible if we get that to our preferred VR location.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Sounds also good.
I will try to send you guys some pictures so you have an idea what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you. Ready for slide number 10?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we were considering also spontaneous situations. Say, for example, I'm not sure if this actually happens, but maybe someone's working on an electrical box and a fuse just so happens to blow, and you have to sort of figure that out on the fly.
Yeah, that's possible.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'm also thinking about seeing other employees, your co-workers, colleagues working unsafely, and that you address them on
That's a very
not
good one.
following procedures, those kind of things.
Okay.
That's a very good one. Because one of the focal points from our safety policy right now is that you have to, it's like the don't walk by policy. If you see a colleague performing an unsafe situation, you have to address them and trying to coach them and sort of get him to realize that what he's doing is unsafe.
Okay. That's a good scenario there.
Yeah, I guess that was it with our presentation. Yeah, the last slide is just again about the cases. I guess we already covered that.
Yeah.
Maybe it's good to know that our next meeting in Enschede will focus primarily on the switchbox case. So we don't have any working at heights activities or PPEs or anything there.
Yeah.
We'll try to bring as many of the things that we just talked about with us next week. But next week we'll primarily focus on the assembly of the switchboxes.
Okay.
All right, cool.
Do you think it's possible for us to also take pictures there, perhaps, of the switchboxes? Yeah.
Did you sign the secrecy? No, I don't think so.
No.
We'll prepare them also. So before we enter the hall, that you guys can all sign it, and then you can enter and take some pictures.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Sure.
Yeah, I think we have a 2-hour meeting, and the first hour will be like a guided tour of the warehouse, and then the second hour we can just have a normal meeting and discuss any questions and progress and those kind of things.
Yeah, that's good.
I will send you the address as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mitch and I will make sure that we are there, 15 minutes beforehand, at least.
So please just arrive at 9 and not at 8:30.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it's a long drive for us.
Yeah.
And the door will be shut, and you can't enter if you don't have the right pass.
Yeah.
I see. Okay.
Is there anything else? Did you look at our graduation agreements?
Yeah, that's still. I don't think that would be a problem, but waiting on the final go for that and the HR department contact person for that.
Mm-hmm.
But I hope to have that finished next week, and then I will bring them with us to Enschede.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah. Do you have any more questions for us?
I don't actually.
No, me neither. We'll save them till next week.
Yeah, great.
All right.
Yeah, thanks.
Cleared up a lot.
Yeah, looking forward to meeting next week, and we will prepare as much as discussed today. Could you send us the minutes you made from this meeting?
Yes, of course.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Well, thank you guys, and see you next week.
Yeah, thank you too. See you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Nice.
Don't forget to stop the recording as well.
Yeah, sure.
Otherwise, we'll have like